There was an article in the National Post, and it's about the stereotype that we've seen in books like The Firm, written by ex-lawyer John Grisham, all about the exploitation of billable hours. You remember the scene from the movie, the lawyers drinking cocktails and saying, oh, it's still billable hours, and how they would add on their hours to make their quota of billable hours this month. The article in the National Post was saying some law firms are trying to get rid of it, and billable hours might even be on the way out. One of those firms doing away with it is Conduit Law. Peter Carayiannis, the president and founder, joins us now. Good morning, Peter. Oh, good morning, Peter.
Yes, I'm right here.
Good. Now, this is something lawyers have got away with for a long time, billable hours. Why and how?
That's a long answer, I think, but the fastest way I'm going to get to it is it's easy. It's easy and it's simple, and it doesn't challenge the lawyers to really try to understand what the value of their service is to the client. They turn the timer on like they're boiling an egg, and they don't really look at what value is being delivered to the client. I think that's why it's stuck around for so long.
I mean, is it really any proper way to measure work? Because, I mean, I'm not trying to compare what I do to a lawyer's job or whatever, but say if I'm preparing something for a show, then I'll say, okay, I'll look at it, well, that's probably going to take me an hour to prepare that topic, and I'll start writing, and then I might get a call from my wife, or I might go and make a cup of tea, or I might get distracted by Candy Crush Saga. And so, I mean, is this what happens in jobs like law as well? And if so, how can they get away with billing that time?
Well, they shouldn't be billing that time, right? But let me get out there here for the record. I'm a lawyer, so you got to expect I'll have a qualification here or there in my answers. Mm-hmm. Most lawyers want to do a good job. They want to do good work for their client, and they want it to be a good value for money. But they're stuck in this broken business model. You know, they don't train you at law school how to run a business. You walk into a law firm, and the law firm says, here's what we do. We do billable hours. And what that trains us to do is to work on this time and materials basis that's really not related to what the clients are looking for. I'll tell you, Dominic, no client in the history of clients have ever walked into any lawyer's office anywhere and said, hey, Dominic, I want to buy a half an hour of your time.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't. They come in, they say, hey, Dominic, I have a problem.
Yeah.
They'd like to buy a house. They'd like to incorporate a business. They need to file for divorce. They come in with a legal-shaped problem, and they say, I'd like you to help me solve my problem. And that's what we try to get to, is try to get to the value of the problem that we're solving, not the number of minutes that we may be recording in trying to get to that solution.
Because then presumably, once you've named your price there, that will encourage you to work more efficiently on behalf of your client.
You hit the nail on the head right there. You see, the billable hour is the incentive to inefficiency. Right?
That's right. It's not in your interest as a law firm to get it done quickly.
No, because what I'm doing is I'm selling hours.
So has there been examples recently where law firms have actually been challenged over this in courts?
Well, no, not on billable. Well, they have been challenged. Law firms get challenged on their invoices all the time. In fact, There's a small department on Queen Street at the Law Society where they will assess your accounts and bring the law firm up before the assessor to say, how do you justify this account?
Oh, okay. So there is a recourse for that then.
Oh, there is a recourse. The challenge there, though, is even the assessing officers are still going to look at time and materials. So we need to have a kind of an attitudinal shift in the way we practice and the way we offer our services. But absolutely, there are court cases all over the place. There was a real famous one last year, and it made the cover of the New York Times, where they caught emails from the lawyers saying, churn that bill, baby. And,
churn that bill. That's a T-shirt phrase. That's great.
It is a T-shirt. But I don't think that the lawyer who sent that email saying, churn that bill, baby, was too happy to have his email on the front page of the New York Times.
No, I'll bet. Is there an argument to say that the traditional amount of billable hours that you would charge for something 20 years ago, it must take a fraction of the time now with the technology at our disposal?
Well, it should. It should. You know, we've seen so many technological improvements that have come into the business of law and the practice of law. One would expect that we would be able to pass along a lot of those efficiencies. In fact, Dominic, you know, I'm looking here because I knew we were going to be on the radio. I pulled open the rules of professional conduct here in Ontario, and it says that lawyers have an obligation to deliver work that's competent, timely, conscientious, diligent, and efficient. It's right here in black and white.
Yeah.
And yet, when we stay with the billable hour model, when we're purely on a time and materials basis, when we're just doing out those dockets, 0.1 hours, 0.2 hours, 0.3 hours, I would challenge anybody to say that we're passing along efficiencies to the client. I would challenge anybody to say that the billable hour is helping the clients in those places.
Now, how many other firms are following your lead on this in terms of moving away from billable hours? Is it ever going to be possible that Bay Street will completely change its practices?
Well, I don't know if Bay Street will completely change the practice, but listen, credit where credit is due. We may be in the minority conduit here, but there is a growing movement, not just in Canada, but in other countries, in the UK, in the US, in Australia, other common law countries, and I'm in contact with these firms on a weekly basis. There's a growing movement to move away from the billable hour and move to, there's a lot of different names for it, value-based billing and other such things, but really trying to understand a better way to service our clients, a more transparent way to service our clients, and even firms on Bay Street. There are lawyers in those groups that are trying, they see the writing on the wall, they know this isn't sustainable, they know that it's inefficient, and they know that it's a problem, but those are super tankers.
Yes,
Dominic, and it's even if you turn the wheel on the super tanker all the way astern, it's still going to take a little while for it to turn. I have the advantage in that we're a small firm, Conduit Law here. We're on King Street in Toronto. We're a little bit more nimble and agile because of that, and we're able to kind of plant a stake in the ground and make this kind of a statement because we're not beholden to anybody in that way.
Is part of the problem a guy thing? That there's this whole thing, whoa, look at the amount of billable hours that I have done this month, that it almost makes you seem like more of some kind of Titanic super worker.
Well, it may have been at some point, but I'll tell you more and more when you walk down the halls and someone is boasting about the size of his billable hours, most people just turn the other way and think that guy's got, he's got other issues.
Yeah.
In only in the business of law do you get to brag about the size of your billable hours. Yeah. In every other industry,
that's right,
you brag about how efficient you are. Every other business says we're hyper efficient. We deliver this on this basis. We deliver it on some other basis. Our cars are the most efficient. Our houses are the most efficient. Energy efficiency. Efficiency is the word of the day. It's the currency. It is what we aspire to. Yeah. But when you're selling billable hours, efficiency is a problem for you because it means you're selling fewer billable hours.
Well, good luck in your quest to make this the norm, and if you can help it to apply to plumbers in your house as well, that would be fantastic. Thanks very much for joining us on AM640 today. Peter Carayiannis, President and founder of Conduit Law PC.